we are back. So this is a bit of a what have we been up to video. So not much has really happened since Launceston show. That was in July. All of August, Nico's kind of had a break so that he can sort of digest what he's done. I think giving him these sort of breaks after he's done milestones work quite well for him. I brought him back into work last week, started with some in-hand work, then we did some long reining, and then I hopped back on board. He's feeling good, he was really good, he was well behaved. I do have some stuff planned with him. He has been registered for British Dressage Quest Winter League. It was only £15 for me to join and register him. I just wanted to do some intros, so just walk and trot. Not really looking to do it competitively. I just want to do it so it's a bit more of a training exercise, really. We can see how we develop through the winter because we've obviously got the score sheet, so hopefully we'll make little gains. So that's kind of my goal with that. I mostly want to focus on getting him a little bit fitter and doing some more hacking across the winter. Where we are, well, everywhere in Cornwall is very busy in the summer months, and even though I can be seen from space with all of my high vis, and I always wear my camera when I go out, I feel that it's not that safe to go hacking around on the roads in the summer, or generally any time anymore. But now it is a bit quieter. I'm hoping that we can go and do some safer routes and get him out hacking a little bit more, doing a little bit of hill work. Still don't want to do too much though, obviously, because he is still young, so I don't want to keep it. I want to keep it quite short and sweet. So he's not going to be going on any long pleasure rides or anything like that at the moment. And I do want him to go out in company a little bit more, and that is the other problem we have in the summer, because a lot of our friends do a lot of eventing and stuff like that, and it tends to die down a little bit at this time of year, so we're hoping that we will have some babysitters to go out with us, because it is great going out with Ben and Duke, the support team on the ground, Nico's support dog. That's what we call Duke. But I think it would be good for him to go out with some other horses, and I think it might give him a little bit more of a buzz than just dawdling along with Ben and Duke, although they don't dawdle, they do walk quite fast, to be fair. So that is kind of the goal with Nico. So Lexi also had a little bit of a break. Her waistline is a bit more consistent now, so she was allowed to have a little bit of a break. But I have brought her back into work as well. Again, I just started her off with some in-hand work, and now we're back doing a little bit more on the lunge and a bit of pole work and stuff, because obviously she doesn't have a rider. She is looking quite good at the moment, so I am tempted to get her out and about to some shows. But I think I'll be a little bit selective over which shows I take her to, because we all know I'm quite a lazy competitor. So I want to find shows where we are in kind of one of the first or second classes, like the earlier starts of the day, so we can kind of go, get it done, and leave again. I can't be bothered with hanging around all day unless there's regular classes we can do, but with Lexi it tends to be quite limited, and we can only really usually do one class. So I don't want to have to get to a show at 9 o'clock and our class not be till 1 o'clock in the afternoon because they've had loads of entries. Great for the show, but yeah, not my vibe. So yeah, that's the plan with Lexi over the winter. Hopefully before she becomes too much of a fluff ball, because she does absolutely expand with hair. Bless her little cottons. So finally, Ellie. So where has Ellie been? You'll probably have noticed that she has not featured since our side saddle show in April. Well, that's because after that, maybe a week or two later, she had a bit of an arthritic flare-up. It wasn't awful, she wasn't hopping lame, but she was lame. You couldn't really see it in walk, but it was noticeable in trot. So we obviously know that she's got arthritis, so we treated her as we normally would, gave her time off. Usually when she has a flare-up, I straight off the mark, just right off the next 3 to 4 weeks. kind of like to give her a good recovery time because we know that she's got it, so it makes sense to just scrap it. She had some Danilon. We upped this slightly like we normally would do if she was lame, but she didn't respond as she normally would do. And I didn't want to increase the Danilon any higher. So I decided I wanted to call the vet out because she's on quite a small dose of Danilon in comparison to the amount of Danilon they can have. But I didn't want to up it until the vet had okayed it. So the vet was great. They came out and were here for about 45 minutes. Did kind of as much of a lameness workup as they could. She said Ellie wasn't as lame as she had expected her to be. So that was a good thing. We did some trot outs, we did some lunging and kind of like, I don't know what you would call it, kind of turn on the spots sort of things. And so on. So initially she was a little bit worried about the amount of flexion in her fetlocks. And apparently Danilon does have like a little bit of a link to this. But I mean, the vet said to me, do you think she looks any different? And I was like, well, yes, she looks different because she's a bit lame. But I don't really think she looks any different in terms of like her way of moving her leg. So cue sort of like panic messaging, looking at videos from the past, and we kind of figured that it probably wasn't anything to do. I think she's always been like that. My instructor, she thought she's always had quite a lot of flexion in her fetlocks. My mum did, and we looked at videos and everything as well. So we decided it probably is no different. So the vet went through all the different options that we had, obviously x-rays and scanning. But she was quite realistic and said, we do know that she's got arthritis. So let's assume it's that for now. Up the Danilon to 2 sachets twice a day for a few days, and then gradually reduce it by like a quarter of a sachet at a time. And kind of see where we can get her to. So I did do this and I managed to get her down from 2 sachets twice a day, 4 sachets a day, which she responded well to. And we got her down to about half a sachet a day. But then at that lower end, she was kind of displaying symptoms again. So the sweet spot seemed to be sort of 1.5 sachets per day that she wasn't showing any discomfort. So I spoke to the vet about it again. And she said that she might have built up some resistance to Danilon. And that it might be worth trying something called Equiox. So Equiox is specifically used for the pain relief of arthritis in horses, from what I gather, not a vet. So we decided we tried that, but there is a bit of a disclaimer that obviously eventually she may have the same thing with the Equiox and might eventually build a resistance to the Equiox, and then we might have to go back to the Danilon and that sort of thing. Anyway, not worrying about that at the moment. So she has been on that for just over 2 weeks now. And she does seem to be a lot happier. It's obviously been 4 months since she was doing exercise, so she's been out of work, which is not ideal for horses with arthritis because the best remedy is to keep them active. She's obviously been out and about in the field moving around, but they have been coming in during the day just because they get sunburnt, B, they get bothered by the flies, and they just prefer to be in out of the day, the sun during the day. So they have been in, but she has been wearing her full magnetic kit. Well, not the full magnetic kit, but she's been wearing her boots. And I do think that they really do help. I've used them for a couple of years and I think they help a lot. And she does have a magnetic rug as well, but it's been a bit too warm for that. So I just use that in the winter. But anyway, yeah, she's doing better. She is a bit stiff, I guess, understandably, having not done any work for a while. So we've just started doing some in-hand walking, which we're literally just doing for like 5 minutes in the field at the moment. I did have her shoes taken off, so that's another reason why we are staying in the field, because she is quite footy on the stones and I obviously don't want to add anything else to the equation. I'm not really sure what to do shoe-wise if I get her out hacking again. Like, I don't know if I put shoes on again or do I look at getting hoof boots because does the hammering of the shoe like give her trauma with her arthritis? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about that at the moment because we just want to see how we go at the moment. But I do think she has improved already just doing the 5 minutes or so walking in the field. So I'm hoping if absolutely nothing else, we might be able to get her back out hacking because she does love her hacking and she's still got so much to give. Even when she was lame, she was acting like an absolute buffoon, just galloping around the field, bucking, throwing her legs around in the air, which is ironic when you think you were spending a fortune getting a vet coming out and, you know, they're just spinning around the field like idiots. But it is nice to see that she is still feeling well. So yeah, I'm also, I am a trained equine massage therapist, so I'm going to be giving her some more frequent massages to try and supple her up a little bit, as well as to go with all my magnetic pads. I also have a massage pad, so I will also be using that as well. I've always used that quite frequently anyway, before rides and stuff like that, so that won't be really any different. It is so difficult when you've got arthritic horses because you can obviously like help and support them, but it's a little bit of a roller coaster because you just don't know when they're going to have a flare up. Summer does seem to be a bit of a weak point for Ellie. Last year she was kind of on and off lame throughout the summer, and obviously this year, all of it. So I think we probably won't bother trying to do anything next summer because I would rather keep her sound up until the summer point and then maybe just completely take her out of work so that we don't actually have that problem. But then equally, then you've got the dilemma of it's better to keep them fit. So, you know, what do you do? I guess we'll just cross that bridge next year when we come to it. Next year will hopefully look a little bit different for us for some various different reasons. So it may be easier to manage. But yeah, I think we'll just have to cross that bridge when we come to it. I am also so happy that it has started raining again. Obviously over the summer the ground dried up so much and it was been so hard, and that doesn't help at all with arthritis. It's also made me so much more conscious of ground conditions. Like when I was younger, I just never even thought about it. Like I don't know if that was just kind of ignorance or whether or not it's just become more apparent because of global warming and stuff like that. But it's definitely made me more conscious of the ground conditions. So even with like Lexi and Nico, another reason why August was pretty quiet was the ground was just absolutely solid. So what's the point in risking their limbs when, you know, they can just have a bit of time off? Like, yeah. But anyway, it's been raining. I was super happy. I did take a little video, which I will insert here. So happy that there's rain. Softer ground, yay! As soon as it was raining, I was literally like, yes, keep raining, keep raining. It was funny because everyone at work was like, oh, it's raining. And I was like, I'm so happy it's raining. So now the ground is pretty much perfect for us. So that's another reason why they've all come back into work. So yeah, I am absolutely happy. As I know quite a few equestrians and probably farmers are, that it started raining. Not only for the kind of softness of the ground, but also help the grass grow. So finally, a little doggy update. So Duke was also lame. Must be something about me. So it turns out he has also got arthritis, but in his elbows. But apparently doggy arthritis is a bit different to equine, and it is likely to be something that he was born with. And it either manifests as lameness and comes out and is found, or it might never come out at all. So we did take him to the vet. There were a few tests. It was a little bit like touch and go for a minute because there is a thing in spaniels where it can be quite serious. So that was a bit panicky. Ben was away as well and he had to be like, not Ben, Duke had to be sedated. So that was a bit of a worry at the time, but it's all kind of panned out. The vet was a bit worried that he had basically like, I can't really remember because it was a little while ago and obviously he didn't have it, so I've sort of forgotten it. But basically they can like have chips taken out of their elbows and stuff like that. So they were a bit worried it might be something like that, but luckily he wasn't. Again, like horses, the best management is to keep them fit and active. So we have managed to, or we're hoping that Duke's lameness has kind of been attributed to wearing a harness for things. Just because the first time that he went lame, we took him for a walk around the woods and he was wearing a harness. And he does pull on a harness, but also, controversially, we can't let him off the lead because he is very prey driven. So if a bird or a rabbit or something ran out or flew out of the hedge, he would just be gone. And he has got pretty good recall, but I wouldn't like to say I trust him. So I think it's better to leave him on a lead if he's in an environment that isn't necessarily controlled. He does go off the lead in the field, but if we're somewhere where he could potentially run away, we just leave him on a lead. So he goes on an extending lead, probably also bad, and a harness. And he went lame after that scenario, basically being on the harness and the extending lead. Then a couple of weeks later, we did the same thing on a harness, but he wasn't... No, hang on. So he was lame, but he wasn't too bad. So then he was fine after a couple of days. And then a couple of weeks later, we did the same thing again, and then he was lame, but it was a bit more severe, and he was lame for a little bit longer. So that's when we took him to the vet. We stopped using the harness now, and he does still do a lot of running around, and he has not been lame since. But it does also mean that it's affected our canicross running, because obviously that is on a harness. And I don't want to run him in the harness because obviously that's what's attributing to his lameness. So we stopped that. I don't want to run with him off the collar because he obviously pulls when we're running, and I don't want him to be pulling in his collar. He doesn't pull on his collar when he's walking, but I'm pretty sure he would when he was running. And I'm absolutely not going to go running with him off the lead because I think that would just be downright dangerous. Particularly because we do a lot of running along kind of rural lanes and it's just not worth the risk. So that has kind of stopped, and I do miss that, but I have absolutely no desire to go running without him. So the most running I'm doing now is just when I'm trotting the ponies up in the field. But Duke is still running around the field for hours and hours and hours off of the lead. And he's still going for long woodland walkies, just obviously with a bit of a different setup. And we have added some swimming into his routine, and also trot poles, if you can believe it, because we did pay to go and see a physio about it to ensure that obviously we could look after him in the best way we could. And she, it cracked me up actually when she said trot poles, but yeah, it is a thing. The swimming is quite expensive, so now it is a bit quieter in Cornwall. We are thinking about maybe taking him to the beach and doing it, because it's... When we pay to go to the swimming pool, it's 30 minutes, which is plenty for a dog, but it is also about £30 for 30 minutes. So it's quite expensive to be able to keep doing it. So yeah, hoping that we might take him to the beach and go swimming, and I'll see if I can squeeze into one of my wetsuits and go in with him, and kind of get his kind of hydrotherapy that way. So yeah, that is our little update on where we're at. I do think it was quite nice to have a break in August. It is just so busy and I didn't really have much drive to do anything. But now I'm pretty keen to get going again. Weirdly, like apart from obviously the rain and the potential for high winds, I do think I kind of prefer autumn and winter months. Because you have to worry about getting too hot at events, so you don't have to worry about the horses getting too hot or sunburnt or flies or whatever. And selfishly, the events are usually a little bit quieter. So for me, it lends itself quite nicely to not wanting to hang around all day. So yeah, hopefully we've got some things coming up. I am going to try and do more vlogs. Not sure what they're going to be about, but I think they're going to be more of like a kind of diary, if that makes sense, of like what I'm doing, particularly with Ellie, because I may or may not get to ride her again, but I would like to kind of video what we're doing and stuff, and also with Nico and Lexi and Duke. It's just nice to have the memories. So I think I'm going to kind of try and do like a bit of more of a kind of a running diary. So I'm not going to put it out there and say I'm going to do one video a week because I don't trust myself to commit to that. But I am going to try and put more effort into making my vlogs a little bit better in terms of how they're laid out and how I deliver them, I guess. So yeah, that is it for now. If there is anything that you would like to see in these vlogs, then do let me know in the comments below. And yeah, that's it for now, but I will do another one soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.